welcome to Let's Talk About Book.
Where we talk about book, and the book we're talking about is Mistborn.
Mistborn, the Final Empire. I am Straub.
And I am Smeevca.
And yeah, so we're talking about book today.
Yes, we've been reading Mistborn. I'd say, like, for those of you just joining us, but it's also, like, it seems like it'd be weird to jump in on, like, episode 5.
I mean, I watch First Reader podcasts and I skip around sometimes, especially if I've already read the
true.
book.
I guess if you're just, like, looking for the particular part.
But so who knows?
So who knows? But yeah, we've been doing Mistborn, and this last section was chapters 16 to 18?
19, I believe.
What was it? 16, 17, and 18? Or...
16, 17, 18, yes.
Yeah,
you're right.
So 16, 17, and 18, that's what we're going over today.
Yep.
And we normally start by reading the epigraphs, the little Lord Ruler bits before the chapters, which, as of this section, we now have confirmation that is in fact what it is. This is the Lord Ruler talking during these bits, because there was, like, at one point I was like, oh, maybe it's not, because, like, we didn't actually, like, know, it just seemed like it. But yeah, and so we will get into that as it goes on, but yes.
Yeah, and this is the start of part 3, Children of a Bleeding Sun.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so we're into part 3 now. All right, I'll read the first epigraph here. Many think that my journey started in Klenium, that great city of wonder. They forget that I was no king when my quest began. Far from it. I think it would do well to remember that this task was not begun by emperors, priests, prophets, or generals. It didn't start in Klenium or Corridel, nor did it come from the great nations to the east or the fiery empire of the west. It began in a small, unimportant town whose name would mean nothing to you. It began with a youth, the son of a blacksmith, who was unremarkable in every way. So that's a little different. Unremarkable in every way, except perhaps in his ability to get into trouble. It began with me.
See, I was gonna make my joke about it started in Emmons Field, but then it's irredeemable.
Irredeemable.
I mean, we get there.
It was irredeemable in every way.
Already, from the beginning. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so we got the...
So that's chapter 16. There. Yeah, again, because, like, we read that one in the last one, because we always end up doing that. But, yeah, it's very, very Wheel of Time, very Emmons Field, just like...
Yep, it's the very, from the middle, or, like,
Yeah, from nowhere.
Yeah, like, small farmer, or blacksmith, or, like... Yeah, that type of thing. And then... Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I remained there, in that lazy little village of my birth. I'd have become a smith, like my father. Perhaps I'd have a family, sons of my own. Perhaps someone else would have come to carry this terrible burden. Someone who could bear it better than I. Someone who deserved to be a hero.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do it well. That is true.
It's a bit of a mess.
It's a bit of a mess, and we get to hear, like, a teensy bit more about it, which is fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna pre-read this real quick.
Pre-reading it? How dare. Yeah, the map pages are still falling out.
You could say that circumstances forced me to leave my home behind. Certainly, if I had stayed, I would now be dead. During those days, running without knowing why, carrying a burden I didn't understand, I assumed that I would lose myself in Klenium and seek a life of indistinction. I am slowly coming to understand that anonymity, like so many other things, has already been lost to me forever.
I do wonder. I would like more, because, I mean, we're gonna get more.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily, like, directly word for word more from that book.
Yeah.
Like, probably, maybe, because Sazed, well, we'll get into it.
Yeah. He's working on it right now. He's trying to read it.
Yeah. And so are we also reading the one for 19?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I have not heard that one yet.
I think it might have played at the end of last chapter. I think we let it play through.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is at the end of the chapters and not the beginning of the chapters, because the chapters on the audiobook thing start with 19,
Yes.
and that sort of stuff. So I guess I probably did hear it.
Quan and I met by happenstance, though I suppose he would use the word provenance. I have met many other terrace philosophers since that day. They are, every one, men of great wisdom and ponderous sagnaciousness. Men with an almost palpable importance. Not so Quan. In a way, he is as unlikely a prophet as I am a hero. Never had an air of ceremonious wisdom, nor was he a religious scholar. When we first met, he was studying one of his ridiculous interests in the great Clenny library. I believe he was trying to determine whether or not trees could think. That he should be the one who finally discovered the great hero of terrace philosophy is a matter that would cause me to laugh, had events turned out a little differently.
I love the trying to see if trees can think.
Yeah.
Because it does give, because like there have been people who've done experiments about that, trying to see if, what trees do, how they feel, smacking trees and like hooking up machines with them to get their response. It's crazy. Yeah, it's I don't know. Because it's like I don't have anything for that really, but I'm just like more names and things and
just some little drops, some little things to think about.
What was it, Quan?
Yes,
we've heard that before in one of the other ones, right?
We have. We've heard Quan being mentioned
because there was someone who was like, oh, he was the first, but now he's
against me.
And was that Quan?
That was Quan.
Yeah, so it's like, what's up with that? What's up with that, Quan? Yeah. Why'd you fucking do that?
And it's like K-A... or something.
Yeah, because you were like, I thought it would be
K-W-A-A-N.
Yeah, and I was like, I figured it was a K-W, because fantasy. And you were like, I thought it was Q-U. Like, that's how they get you.
But yeah.
Yeah, and so those are little epigraphs. This section, as like a whole, it's like, it's after they get fucked up.
Yes, it's right after they go to, or Vin wakes up after Credit Shaw.
Yes, and so it's like these last 3 chapters have been sort of recovering. Yeah. And we go to a ball, and so it's not as like high action.
Yeah. I think this one will probably be a little bit shorter.
Yeah. But it's like, it's still good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, because it's funny, because with like all the action stuff, we hardly even talked about the actual action.
Right.
Because it's just like, and then a bunch of action.
Yep, it's just good action and just like fun like, to read, but like.
Yeah, it's like, you just kind of gotta like read it for yourself. Because I'm also just like bad at visualizing that kind of thing. So it's like, my sort of like visual memory for how all that shit goes down is very non-specific.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, Vin's real fucked up and trying to get away. Well, this one we get some good like conversation stuff, which I am a big fan of. So it's like, I actually have like a lot of notes for chapter 16. Oddly enough, like,
I'm excited.
Like, I think partially I just wasn't cramping my notes together as much as I normally do.
Yeah.
But also it's like I have like a full little like page and a half of notes or whatever. I mean, it's a tiny little book, but my little notebook.
Yeah. If you hear roommates in the background, it is roommates in the background.
Yeah. It's like, if you hear roommates in the background, don't worry about it. But yeah, chapter 16.
Yes.
So, chapter 16, my very first note is Vin continues to be the saddest person.
Yep. Yeah, the first line is, when Vin awoke, the pain told her that Reen had beaten her again. What had she done? Had she been too friendly with one of the other crew members? Had she made a foolish comment during drawing the crew leader's ire? She was to remain quiet, always quiet, staying away from the others, never calling attention to herself. Yeah, so this is whole...
It's just like, Vin continues to just be so sad all the time. Yeah. I'm like, this poor girl. And then my next note is 2 weeks! Exclamation point. Because Vin's been out for 2 weeks.
Yep, she's been out for 2 weeks, basically just living off of pewter.
Yeah, which, like, you can't live off pewter alone. You shouldn't, anyway. And
Mistborn now officially called Spook.
Yes.
Because I said it before.
Yeah, it's like I was hearing Spook.
Because it's just Spook in my head.
Yeah. I'm over here like, Mistborn. It's like, oh, right.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for him to be important.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna do something important. I don't know what he's gonna do that's gonna be like...
Yeah.
Because so far
but he's definitely, like, around. And...
Yeah, it's like he's always around and, like... and has a name.
Yeah.
And a
and he's
distinct
just, like,
way of talking.
a smaller member of the crew, just, like, kind of on the...
Yeah.
outskirts in a way.
Right, but it's just like he's so visible in the story.
Yeah.
That I'm like, what's his deal gonna be? I have the Lord Ruler wants Kel alive, maybe. As something.
Right, because Doxson asks her, "How much do you remember?" Most everything, I think. We fought our way into the palace, but there were inquisitors. They chased us, and Kelsier fought. Kelsier, is he... Kel's fine. He came out of the incident in far better shape than you did. He knows the place fairly well, from the plans we made 3 years ago, and he... What? He said the Inquisitors didn't seem focused on killing him. They left 1 to chase him and sent 2 after you.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing, and I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That he would maybe want Kel alive for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe he has some sort of, like, personal vendetta against him in a way, like... I don't know. Because he, like, escaped from the pits and all that. But it could also mean that, like, first... I don't know. This makes less sense that, like, somehow, like, Vin is just so important.
Yeah.
But then it's like, what do they know about Vin? They would know more about Kelsier.
Yeah. Although they are, like, Mistborns that they don't, like, know about. They want to... that they're not supposed to exist.
Right.
You know. That aren't like nobles. I don't know what that sound was.
Yeah, I was hearing that and I'm like, is someone like yelling? What were we saying?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
We're talking about
yeah, it's like the 2 Mistborn that they don't really know about doing stuff, and it's like we don't want them to be alive and doing things. So it's like But it's like, do they know that it's Kel? Because Kel wasn't a Mistborn whenever he got, like, thrown.
Yeah. And they did know that, like, someone, like, some, like, Misting that they don't know about, like, was trying to scam an obligator because they sent an Inquisitor after her before and stuff.
That's true.
And then, like, the lair got attacked. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, Vin learns that being Mistborn isn't about being able to do everything, which is kind of a sloppy way of putting it. But, yeah, it's like Vin becomes Mistborn, and she's like, well, she doesn't become Mistborn. She was Mistborn already. Yeah. But she, is made aware of that, and she learns that there's all these things that she can do, and she's got this, like, freedom and this power, and she's like, take me to fucking Credit Shaw, I can do it, I can come with you, it's whatever. And then just gets fucking smacked out of the air. Yeah. Just absolutely swatted down. And so Vin has to learn the lesson that being Mistborn doesn't make her invincible, which is how the book puts it. But then I was trying not to just word for word say that. But it's just true. Yeah. The book just says it, and it's right. That is the thing. Sometimes the book does just kind of like come out and say things very plainly sometimes, which is like fine. But it's also just like, sometimes it's just like, wow, they really just point straight at it, and you're like, yep. And Vin doesn't know how to not work.
Yeah. She's having a hard time sitting around.
Yeah, because she's got to sit around and heal, but she's like, I hate it. I hate just sitting around and having to heal. I need to be doing something. And it's like, no, Vin. Just fucking calm down and heal, please. Vin, your bones. Vin, your flesh. You were very cut up.
Still, it felt good to be up again. There had been something wrong about simply recovering in bed. Such a lengthy period of rest wouldn't have been given to an ordinary thief. Thieves either got back to work quickly or were abandoned for dead.
Yeah. And it's like, there's a whole thing. Oh yeah, there's a bit where she's like...
She's worried about, like, draining their resources and, like, but they don't seem to, like, care about that, but, like, everyone else has.
Yes, it's like, and I wrote, it's not expressly about capitalism, but, like, because Vin has that mindset. It's like, no, I have to be useful. It's like, she doesn't see herself as valuable as just a person, because she's not a person, she's a ska. Yeah. But also, it's like, it's all about value and being useful,
Yeah.
even insofar as earlier when she's sort of, that bit where I'm like, Vin knows theory, where she's like, you're thinking about all the waste, all the ska labor that went into like making this and whatnot.
Yeah.
She still has that kind of like view of like ska labor and usefulness and value, and I need to have value by doing things, and like I'm draining resources and like
by like existing.
Yes, it's like, I can't. It's like I got injured, but I have to go to work.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. It's like whenever I was just like listening to that section, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and go ahead. I just lost it there.
Nah, you're okay. It was like, you're not just new to being a Mistborn, you are half his age. He has more experience in everything, which is me talking at Vin about Kelsier, where it's like, Vin's newer to being a Mistborn than he is, but also just like has a lot less experience than he does. So it's like, you gotta understand, like, because like Kelsier has this whole bit where he's talking to her about like, no, I shouldn't have let you come with me, and I shouldn't have been like talked into it. And it's like, you gotta realize, Vin, there's some things that like, you just can't do. Cause like so with chapter 16 as like a whole, cause like I have like my notes here and I'm looking at them and I'm having trouble remembering sort of like the big picture of chapter 16, what all like happens.
Yeah, it's so then they basically call a meeting. At Renew like mansion or whatever.
Yeah, is this when she's on like the balcony looking at like the garden and stuff, or is that like the next chapter?
I think that's next chapter, because there's a bit with the Sazed where she asks him if he's an Allomancer.
Right. Yeah. Which that's some stuff that I really want to get into.
She's like, actually, my lord, I'd like to visit Sazed, because she has like a little lunch with Renew that we can kind of.
Oh right, that's what it was. Yeah.
So it's basically just a bit of that, and then into she's like, I want to go find Sazed, and then we get that conversation.
Because I have some stuff here about like Sanderson likes Persona, where it's like talking about Vin's various personas that she puts on and stuff, and just like that is like a theme for him.
Yeah, because there's a line thinking about Renew.
Right, because like...
Could someone really adopt a persona that holy? You do it, Vin reminded herself. When you become Lady Valette, you show a completely different side of yourself.
Yeah. And specifically even having it be like a different side of herself, not be like an entirely new thing. It's like projecting a different side of yourself, and it like really fits into like the concept of persona and stuff like that. Having different personas. And... I also have, honey, you have to flare pewter just to go up the stairs. Please go to bed and heal.
Yeah,
because she's like, oh man, I'm glad I'm feeling better and can walk around and stuff. Anyway, I have to flare my pewter to go up the stairs. Not burn pewter to go up the stairs, but flare it. Do like the extra bit to go upstairs.
She turned, flaring pewter to help her climb the northern set of stairs. She let her flare lapse as she reached the top, returning to a normal burn.
Yeah.
As Kelsier said, it was dangerous to flare metals for too extended a period. An Allomancer could quickly make their body dependent.
It's like, girl, you are dependent. You're having to burn it all the time.
She took a few breaths, climbing the Oh god, slime. I cannot speak today.
Sliming the stairs.
Sliming the stairs.
Vin, stop getting slime all over the stairs. Where did this even come from, Vin?
I was trying to say, climbing the stairs had been difficult, even with pewter that walked down the hallway. That's all I was trying to say, but it wasn't happening.
Sliming the stairs.
Anyway, right. Vin needs to heal.
Vin
She's pushing herself.
She's pushing herself. She's having to burn pewter all the time just to, like, keep standing and moving. Like, girl, go to bed. And then we get to the conversation with Sazed.
Yes.
Because I could have, but did you though?
Yes.
Because it's like you got there so fast, and he's like, I could have taken some fast horses from whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like,
but did you?
But did you though? I could have, but did you though?
Yeah, because when she first sees him, Vin stopped in the doorway regarding the man who had saved her life. Why is he wearing spectacles? I've seen him read before without them. He seemed completely absorbed by his work, periodically studying a large tome on the desk. You're an allomancer, Vin said quietly. What makes you say that? And then she goes through, like, you found, or like, you got to do Luthadel too quickly. You found me at the palace. You killed the Inquisitor. And killed? No, mistress, it takes far more power than I possess to kill one of those monstrosities. I simply distracted him.
Yeah. And it's like, well, what do you mean by that? More specifics, please.
Yeah.
And then there's always another secret.
Yes.
Which is a direct quote, and from what I understand, a common refrain about Sanderson's work.
It's Kelsier's line here.
Yep. There's always another secret.
There's always another secret.
Yeah, because that was like an earlier thing.
Yep.
With like getting the hidden bottle or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, it's a whole thing. There's always another secret.
Yep.
172 languages.
Yes. I wanted to.
Yeah, because it's like we start to find out about.
Yeah, because he doesn't mention what he is. He's basically like.
Because like she's asking him questions.
Still, I'm sorry, I'm out of it today.
It's okay.
That is true, I think. Still, what proof have you that I'm an allomancer? You did things that couldn't have been done without allomancy. Oh? I'm Mistborn for 2 months and already you know all that is possible in the world? And then that leads up to, there's always another secret. Kelsier's words. So, what exactly is a keeper? And so then he's talking about a keeper. Keepers are storehouses. We remember things so they can be used in the future. Like religions. Religious truths are my particular speciality.
Yeah. So,
and he knows, 172 languages.
Yep. Which is impressive. And I'm like, damn, wish that were me. Because big language fan over here. But yeah, it's interesting. We start to get more about keepers.
Yeah.
Because he's like, we use metal to make memories.
Yes. He said, that sounds impossible. One man couldn't remember that much. Not one man, Sazed said. One keeper. What I do is similar to allomancy, but not the same. You draw power from metals. I use them to create memories. How? Perhaps another time, mistress.
Perhaps another time. Yeah, and so it's like, but he says it's different from allomancy, but it's like, how? In what way? And it also does perhaps shine some light on one of my questions from before, which is, Kel has the Secret 11th thing.
Yeah.
The kryptonite metal.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how to burn it. But we now know that, like, okay, well, keepers do their metal mind thing, turning metals into memories. So it's like, there's perhaps different ways that one can use the metal rather than just burning it in the regular allomantic sense. If keeper metal shit truly is different from allomancy.
Yeah.
But it could just be that, like, they're both part of a larger system that they think are separate but are still connected somehow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, all the sciences are connected eventually. But yeah, so it's like maybe it's not an allomantic metal, maybe it's a something else kind of metal. Maybe he can do something else with it. I don't know. It's like, can't you just fucking eat your metal and do your shit with it? Like, come on. You have this 11th metal. What are you doing? And also, it's like, tell me how you do the metal different to make memories. What does that mean? How do you do that? Because, like, we know that there's some mental metals that, like, affect emotions and stuff. And, like, copper is also kind of in that realm. It's like, what's... meh. Is it related to that? Is it different from that? Who's... And also, he... Attention was brought to the fact that he's wearing glasses now to read when he didn't have to before.
Yeah.
And he expended an entire metal mind.
Yeah.
Doing his, like, berserko shit.
Yeah.
And he said that he can do shit other than memories with it. Because, like, none of the fucking shit that he was doing to save Vin was memory related, as far as I can tell. Unless it's like, I memorized how to be the ultimate badass.
Yeah.
It's like... And so it's like...
Chuck.
Like Chuck?
Have you seen Chuck?
Chuck?
I think it's Chuck.
Ed-
It's like it's a TV show. He's like a Best Buy employee or something like that. It's not actually Best Buy. It's something else. Some generic, whatever.
Yeah.
And he gets superpowers like downloaded into his brain, basically. Like he just like. The government accidentally sends him an email or something that was it's dumb as fuck, but it's funny.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a comedy like crime spy like thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's fun. It's weird. It's weird and like dumb, but he like basically gets like kung fu spy knowledge downloaded into his brain.
Gotcha.
And then they've got to protect him because like he's got all of this knowledge that he was not supposed to have. It's a whole thing.
I mean that does sound So unless they're doing that, well, because it's like he consumed a metal mind, or like he used one up, and now he's wearing glasses.
Yeah.
So like maybe it fucked with him somehow.
Yeah.
Like he used it up, and so it's like he needs to. It's like he used metal to build a mind for himself.
Yeah.
That's what like memories. Like you just like you put metal in your brain.
Yeah.
It stores. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
I like to hear all your theories.
Yeah,
They're
it's
fun.
like so far it's never been that.
Yeah.
I mean we do, but like let's see. I'm being so articulate right now. The Steel Inquisitors have fucking metal jammed into their fucking heads.
Yeah.
So there's something that's like metal in the brain, maybe? Question mark? I don't know. I want it to mean, what does it mean? They have nails in their brains. And then these guys have metal minds.
Yeah.
So like, bleh.
This is fun.
Yeah. So yeah. And then we learn more about keepers.
Yeah.
We learn some intimate details about our old buddy Sazed.
Yep. So the Vin is like first says we are far less threatening than Mistborn, yet he ignores Allomancers and seeks to destroy us, hating the terrorist people because of us. Hating? Vin asked. You're treated better than the regular Ska. You're given positions of respect. And so then he talks about there are very few of us left, and the Lord Ruler's breeders control our reproduction.
Yep.
And then she said, that seems like it'd be hard to enforce. And he's like, yeah, we're all
eunuchs.
Yeah, eunuchs.
Mm-hmm. I have written here Lord Ruler's unity movement of the 5th century, which I believe is what wiped out a bunch of the languages.
Yes.
And current language, distant dialect of Terrace.
Of Terrace, yes.
Because, of course, I took more language
Yeah,
notes than I
yeah.
needed to. But yeah, we learn that stuff, the breeding, because like we'd heard about breeding program before.
Yes, just like the tiniest mention of terrorist breeding programs.
Yeah, it's just like something that was said in passing, and so now we know that like they're eunuchs, which also means that like some of them must be not, so that they can continue to breed more, but it's just for the purpose of breeding more, which is wild. And it's like, yeah. Like, part of me is like, I want to know the logistics of this, and part of me is like, I don't want to know the logistics of this. But it's funny that, like, Vin's reaction, one, she has, like, the sort of, she's gets very embarrassed.
Vin froze, then blushed furiously. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know how to react to this.
Yeah.
But then she also has some stuff about like, oh, is that why he's so like docile?
Docile, yeah.
And so
Probably a function of his condition. That's what the breeders must want. Docile, even-tempered stewards.
Yeah, and so I wrote, aggression is stored in the balls. Vin, apparently. Vin's like, of course. No balls, that's why. And then I was like, how does the Lord Ruler feel about all this?
Yeah.
I wrote in there. Because he starts talking about, because he does talk about the book. And I've been translating the book.
Yes, he, when do they mention it? Maybe it's in the next chapter.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know why I have that. I do have, like, how does the Lord Ruler feel about all this? And, like, I don't know, because there was something about that in here. I don't know what it was.
It just goes into them talking about Kelsier after that.
Yeah, trained from birth to fulfill the Lord Ruler's wishes.
Yeah.
Like, what are the Lord Ruler's wishes?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's what I was
Going for.
Yeah. How does the Lord Ruler feel about all this? Because there's all, well, I think it's also because there's all this stuff from the beginning of chapters.
Yeah.
Or end of chapters where it's like him being more like hesitant.
Yep.
And unsure. Which, because that's something that Saza talks about. He talks about, like, in his, fucking, in this book, where it's, like, him as, like, a younger man doing all this shit, he's more, like, hesitant and unsure, and, you know, because we talked about it, it's like, oh, but, you know, I have the armies. We can talk about it
now. It's in chapter 17, but we can talk about it now.
Oh, it's in chapter 17?
Yeah.
I don't know why, it's like, I don't know why I have it in my chapter 16 notes then, because I don't have any chapter 17 notes, because we were listening to it, like, in the car.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my notebook with me and stuff, but yeah, it's like, so, like, how does the Lord Ruler feel? Like what kind of man has he become?
Yeah.
Because it's like, we get these glimpses of him pre-ascension at the ends of the chapters and stuff, but, like, who is this guy now?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I was getting at.
So they're asking, like, what the book was. It's a journal, Master Dachshund, a record that appears to have been penned by the appears to have been penned by the Lord Ruler, or rather, the man who became the Lord Ruler. Even ministry teachings agree that before the Ascension, he was a mortal man. This book tells of his life just prior to the final battle at the Well of Ascension 1,000 years ago. Mostly it's a record of his travels, a narration of the people he met, the places he visited, and the trials he faced during his quest.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's the stuff that we're seeing in the epigraphs.
Mm-hmm. And then Breeze is like kind of doubting its authenticity or whatever, and so Sazed says, I do not believe it to be a fabrication. It contains a remarkable level of detail, especially regarding unimportant issues like Pac-Men and supplies. In addition, the Lord Ruler it depicts is quite conflicted. If the ministry were going to devise a book for worship, they would present their god with more divinity, I think.
Right. Is this sort of at the beginning of chapter 17, or is this like a little bit into it?
It's a little bit in.
It's a little bit in. Yeah, because like I do have some like thoughts about that, but I do wonder if we should like sort of like go back to the beginning of.
It's mainly just like kind of mansion renew stuff.
Right. Yeah, like yeah, because like there's not much in there except just like Vin's bored.
There isn't really. Yeah.
She's having to put on her front all the time because there are some servants there.
Yep, that are like that don't know the job or whatever.
Right, because they're like, oh, we need to let the other houses get some spies in because they'll be suspicious otherwise.
Yeah.
And so it's like they have their little meeting on like the balcony.
Yeah, and so then she's having an awkward conversation with Renew, and then the meeting happens, and then
all this stuff starts.
Yeah,
so this is kind of like the first like main thing, because the other stuff is kind of just like, I mean, I'm sure that it'll be important, the stuff about like the gardeners and whatnot.
Yeah, and she was just basically kind of it's a bit of like what's changed in the past 2 months. Like
Right.
Eden seems a bit more confident. Kelsier seems
Right, because Kelsier's had a bit of a change
Yeah.
since the stuff happened, because he feels bad, and also he's like, I gotta take some shit more seriously.
Yes, because it's like this is actually getting to be like a big
Right.
thing rather than like a small like thieving thing.
Yeah, this isn't a large thieving enterprise. This is a small revolution.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, and they're just like different things. And so then during that, we start getting that stuff that we just talked about with.
And then saying that that they're gonna try and get Marsh into the ministry.
Right. Yes, they're gonna get Marsh into the ministry because the deal that Vin was a part of in the beginning.
Yes. They got Theron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was gonna like get people, because like they're setting up.
Yeah, like a trade, like a route or whatever along the river.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, we can
use that to get like,
to get because it's like, oh, there's like supposed to be like new ministry people.
Yeah, acolytes
coming in, and so we can sneak Marsh on there and have him be one of those acolytes.
Yeah.
Because of that whole deal that they had working out before. So like it all comes back around. When people talk about the Sanderson stuff, it all sort of connects. It's like it all comes together, which is why I expect things like Spook to be important.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, Theron, he'll be important, and then I was like, oh, I guess he's just some guy who gets betrayed, and then he ends up like coming back later for this thing, and so like that's it all kind of like fits together nicely in that sort of way. But yeah, and then they start talking about the book, and they talk about and Bree's talking about the authenticity of it, and the stuff that he says about it being like contradictory and conflicting and stuff is interesting, because it makes me think about the like Bart Ehrman podcast. Yeah. Whenever he talks about like the Bible and stuff, and
he's a Bible scholar.
Yes, because he's a Bible scholar out of like I should know this. It's like UNC. It's like UNC Chapel Hill or something like that. I just am familiar with that place, and so
got you.
But yeah, so he's like a Bible scholar, and he talks about like when you're doing this like biblical scholarship and you're looking at like different manuscripts, and like two different manuscripts will say different things, and you're wondering if someone has like changed what's been written here. If you're like it could have been that someone just like miswrote something, but like someone could have deliberately changed something, and there's this idea that like whichever version is the one that would be like less neat and tidy for the faith is probably the older and more original one, because why would you do that? Why would you make things harder for yourself? And so not to say that it's like true in like the literal sense, but to say it's like, you know,
just weighted more heavily,
right? Or it's like the earliest depictions probably included this, and so like later ones also include it, and they might want to change it because of changing views, and so they'd probably change it to something more convenient for them. Rather than, you know, take the less convenient thing and make it more convenient, rather than introduce something that's like directly like counter. It's like you gotta look at like, well, during this time, what were the people thinking? And does this change bring the text more in line with what they were thinking, or away from what they were thinking? And so it's like, it's like if this thing would cause, because like, you know, there's definitely things in the Bible that are like contradictory to each other, but it's not like someone's going in there and intentionally trying to like make it more contradictory, because no one wants it to be more contradictory. Everyone wants it to all make sense, and it doesn't, and that's the frustrating part. It's like, want it to all come together, and it doesn't, and so the changes are more likely to make it come together than make it more different. And so I thought it was interesting that he talks about like, it's like, well, I mean, I think if they were like just trying to like come up with something whole cloth,
then it wouldn't make them look like this, you know?
Exactly. And so I thought that was kind of like a interesting little bit in there, because I know that like Sanderson is I wouldn't be surprised if Sanderson was into that kind of like biblical, because he's a nerd and he is religious.
Well, and he like he went on like a Mormon mission and everything, so like the like the 2-year like
Right, so it's like...
And he also, it's a major theme. Yeah.
Right, because he has, like, Sazed, who, like,
books.
studies these religions and stuff, and, like, religion is definitely, like, an important theme within his books.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, this book,
From what I hear.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only have the one to go off of, and so far it has been, but...
Yep, and it's a theocracy that's, like, this empire, or whatever, is very explicitly...
Right, it's very explicitly a theocratic empire, and also very explicitly bad.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting, especially...
With an immortal god king.
Yes, and it's like, and it's so interesting, especially whenever you're coming from, like, the Mormon church, where it's like... I mean, the most extreme versions of Christianity in general get very sort of theocratic.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah.
It's very fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, Mormons being the sort of, like, the ones that came out of America.
Yeah.
Have, like, will also tend to have a very sort of, like, America-centric.
Yeah.
View, like, when you get really, like, far to one extreme. Because it's, like, some of the, like, really... conservative Christian people have like a weird Europe.
Yeah.
They can get kind of Europe focused because, the historical roots of the church and like, like Catholics in Rome and things like that.
Yeah.
But like, and like, oh, the Crusades, remember the Crusades? Those were great and not bad. But for the Mormons, it's like America, because that's where we were. that's where... we're the Latter-day Saints from America.
Yeah.
And so it's just, like, a whole thing. And, like, the American theocratic shit.
Yeah.
Because there's certainly some people who want America to look a bit more like the Final Empire. If only we could find the right God King. So, see, that's always the trouble with God Kings. It's finding the right one. And as we come to find out later... some people have written books being like, I know he's the God King, but like he's really fucking it up at his job. But yes, so that was all very interesting because I know that like Sanderson is a religious man and he thinks about religion very seriously.
Yes, yeah.
And so
I really like the ways he talks about it in his books,
series.
In his series.
So they have the meeting, they're talking about the book, and then sort of where do they go after that?
What am I doing?
Yeah,
I just lost my spot.
Yeah, I was seeing
literally no reason.
Yeah, I was seeing you close the book there, and I was thinking like, so.
What chapter were we on?
We were on 17. Yeah, and you're all the way at like the end of 18.
Yeah, here it is. Anyway.
Yeah. So after they talk about the book stuff.
Yeah. Vin's just like, please let me go back to work. Please let me go to a ball again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because she's like, I just want to do something. I'm so bored being taken care of.
My whole life has been dangerous. I'm going.
Yep. And she's not wrong.
Yeah.
Her whole life has been dangerous, so much so that like she became a Mistborn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because do we get that conversation?
I don't think yet.
Because, like, is that conversation really, like, 18?
It's in 17, but, it's in a couple pages.
Yeah.
I think, so this bit is basically her thinking about going to the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Ellen's gonna be there.
Always thinking about Ellen, because she's got her little
picking
crush
out her
on Ellen.
Dress. I don't even realize when I'm wearing perfume anymore. She realized with a shock.
Yep. It's like I smell good all the time.
Yeah. And so, then she goes and meets with Kelsier on the balcony.
Right.
And they have the conversation about the plants and everything, and he shows her the picture.
Right, the picture of the flower.
Yeah. Does it ever look wrong to you, Vin? Wrong? She asked. The dry plants, the angry sun, the smoky black sky. How can these things be right or wrong? That's simply the way that things are. I suppose, Kelsier said. But I think your mindset is part of the wrongness. The world shouldn't look like this.
Yeah.
How do you know that? And then he unfolded the picture of a flower, which they don't know what it is. It's that he describes a flower. It depicted a strange shape, something like a plant, though not one Vin had ever seen. It was too flimsy, it didn't have a thick stalk, and its leaves were far too delicate. At its top, it had a strange collection of leaves that were a different color from the rest. It's called a flower, Kelsier said.
Yeah, it wasn't until he said flower that, like, from that description, I was like, is it just like a regular tree?
Yep.
And then it's like, oh no, it's a flower.
Yep. Plants that smell like fruit? Something like that, I think. Some of the reports claim that these flowers grew into fruit in the days before the Ascension.
And that was my thought as they were talking about. It's like, but like, if you have fruit, don't they come from flowers? And it's like, they used to, not anymore. And it's like, okay.
You got me.
You got me. You got me, I guess. See, I do really wonder about the plants, because it's like, these are some like fucked up ass plants that they have.
Yep.
And it's like, what are they eating? What are they like? But yeah. And they talk about Mare, and it's real sad.
Yeah, because the picture belonged to Mare. She collected things like that paper, pictures and descriptions of old times.
Yeah, from I almost said pre-calamity. Pre-ascension.
Pre-ascension times, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Lord Ruler's just Calamity Ganon.
That's literally what I was watching the Nerdy Wordy book club, like another like first reader podcast, but they do streams.
Right, yeah, you talked about them. Right, because they had an interesting thing about Breeze.
Yes.
Yeah, because Nerdy Nightly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Nerdy Nightly, which is a different thing from Nerdy Wordy, right?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nerdy Nightly is the channel, but like Nerdy Wordy Book Club is like their their book club. And I don't know his name. Right. He just always goes by Nerdy.
Right.
It's Nerdy and Clarus. And I watch their Wheel of Time stuff.
Yeah.
And some of their other reactions. And then they're doing they just started Mistborn. And they just finished the Final Empire and are starting the Well of Ascension. But it's like I was trying not to say the book name for a while, but
I mean, knowing the name of the books, it's like they're called what they're called.
I was trying not to.
But it's interesting to hear that it's the Well of Ascension, because now we've heard that's a thing.
Because we've heard the name in this. Because we recently heard it, so I was trying not to say.
Gotcha. It's alright. I'm like, ooh, intrigue. Well of Ascension. Yeah. But yeah, because he had a interesting thing about Breeze. And about how it's like, Breeze believes what he has to in order to make what he does right.
Right.
Both for himself and for everyone else who asks him, who keeps asking him to do it.
Yes.
They keep judging him for doing it, but also asking him to do it, which is interesting. And he's like, people are quick to shit on Breeze, but Breeze believes these things because he has to in order to make what he does right.
Yes.
Which is interesting. I thought that was a very interesting point, because I was definitely like dunking on him in a playful sort of way.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it got me thinking about Breeze again, and the ways in which, like, Breeze puts on this kind of noble affect.
Yeah.
He's a fancy man.
Yeah.
You know, he's always, like, getting people to do things for him, and the wine, and he's, like, you know, he's faux aristocracy amongst these, like, you know, he's not
like thieving crew,
Right, he's not actually pretending to be aristocracy in the way that Lord Renew is, who I don't even think is pretending to be aristocracy. I think he's just actually a noble. I
love your Renew conspiracy theories. They're my favorite.
Yes, because it's like, I'm sure whatever it is more complicated than that, but like, I don't know. I'm just like, there's something up with Renew, because she's like, yeah, fuck him. He's not really a noble. I don't give a shit. But he does act like a noble literally all the time, and he knows all this shit.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a whole thing. Can he really commit himself that completely? And I'm like, I don't think he's committing to a bit. I think he's just a noble.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I even talking about? Right. Breeze, thinking about the, like, Ska Rebellion working with Breeze.
Yeah.
And whenever he gets the Ska Rebel to bring him wine and stuff, it's like, so this rebel must be like, this motherfucker, like, I'm over here fighting for the rebellion, and this fucking bourgeois wannabe is asking me to get wine for him, and lecturing me about how, like, oh, it's fine, because, like, isn't everything just manipulation? And it's just like, no wonder everyone wants to punch this man in the face. But also, it's like, what else is he gonna do?
Right.
You know, it's like, I was born with this power, and everyone's asking me to do this shit, and I do it.
I'm really good at it.
And I'm really good at it, and y'all are just mad at me because I'm good at
And also, like, it's not just his, like, power. He's, like, he legitimately, like, he's great at reading people.
Right.
Like, you can't, like...
You can't just magic your way into it. He has some, like, legitimate, like, people skills.
Yeah, basically. Because if you don't have those people skills, there's not much you can really do, because you don't know what emotions to really even target, like, what you want to, like...
Yeah. It's like
it doesn't give you mind reading powers, you know?
Yeah, it's like, listen, you can cast charm emotions. I mean, not charm emotions. Charm person. There's calm emotions, and there's charm person. You can cast charm person, but it only gives you advantage on the social interaction. If you still have shit charisma, you're probably still gonna fail the roll. You know, and if they make their save on calm emotions, then you better fucking watch out. They're gonna be mad at you for trying to calm their emotions.
Which, if you soothe someone and they notice, they're not gonna be happy.
They're not gonna be happy about it. So it's like, it's interesting, and seeing that little bit, because I didn't watch, like, the whole podcast or anything, but seeing that little bit.
Yeah, it was just showing, like, little snippets from a part of the book we had already read, because I was so excited when I saw that they started doing Mistborn, because I've been watching for a while.
We did then watch One Piece, though.
Yes, yeah.
I did watch you watch that, which was fun.
Yeah, he's been going through One Piece, which has been fun.
Yeah.
Dancing to the opening.
Yep, and we're big One Piece nerds,
so
yes, it's always fun to see, because it's like we're doing this because we like stuff like this.
Yep, yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like...
I love, like, these types of podcasts, just getting different people's opinions on the same things that I love, and then also getting to hear your, like, reactions and stuff about things. And
yep, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, and it's like, you're always like, I love awkward people and bad audio, and I'm just trying inside myself to live in that place.
That's what I look for podcasts. Awkward people and shit audio. It's my favorite.
Yeah, and then I'm editing the podcast, and I'm like, do I take this out? Do I leave this in? You know, and I'm just, like, worrying too much about it. I mean, like, some of the things...
I feel bad that now I say, like, awkward people and shit audio after I've just been talking about... I don't mean them, actually. They don't have shit audio.
Yeah, that's so funny. I didn't even...
They're actually, like, great.
Yeah, I didn't even really, like, think about it. I was just like... Because, like, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it is, like... Yeah, to me, it's like the audio thing. It's like I wanted to make sure that we had.
Yeah.
You know, but then again, it's like it's easier to have good audio these days.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, earlier YouTube stuff where it's just like, and I'm like, I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
It's like, I want us to be legible at the very least. But I mean, you know, that was always going to be the case.
Yeah. All right, so now that we've done that tangent.
Yes, you know, I mean, we covered important things like somebody else watching One Piece. So, you know, only the most important stuff.
Only the most on topic.
Yes, but we were in chapter 17. And talking about Mare and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Because she's maybe the one who betrayed him.
Yes, yeah. Vin is like, so, and you keep this picture still after what she did to you? And then Kelsier's like, well, I guess it's common enough knowledge anyway,
right,
or whatever.
Right, because it was Sazed who told her.
Yeah, well, she asked Sazed straight out.
Right. But yeah, she got the information from Sazed, is what I was, Yeah, and so then they have a whole kind of conversation, like, how can you still trust people after that? Like, you know. Yeah. Kind of, like, and like, that he still has love for her, and, you know, like, that type of stuff. And I do wonder where it's all gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, because I could kind of see it going either way. Either she did betray him actually, or she didn't. Like, either she did betray him, or she didn't. And if she did, she's later, like, trying to say, no, I didn't do it. And she was, like, really being like, no, I didn't do it, believe me. But, like, apparently the Lord Ruler was, like, said...
yeah, so it was...
It was, like, thank you for betraying him or something like that.
Yeah, let me...
Because, see, I'm like, I don't trust the Lord Ruler. So if he's like, thank you, Mayor, for being the worst.
So first there's and she was sent to the pits, right? That doesn't make sense if she sided with the Lord Ruler. She showed up at the pits a few weeks after I was sent there. We were separated after we were caught. I don't know what happened during that time or why she was eventually sent to Hethsin. The fact that she was sent to die hints that maybe she really didn't betray me, but you didn't hear him when he caught us, Vin. The Lord Ruler, he thanked her for betraying me. His words, spoken with such an eerie sense of honesty, mixed with the way that the plan was set up. Well, it was hard to believe, Mare. That didn't change my love, though, not deep down. And then,
Yeah.
That night after her corpse was taken away, I snapped. And then it talks about snapping.
Right.
You went mad? No. Snapping is an allomantic term. Our powers are latent at first. They only come out after some traumatic event. Something intense. Something almost deadly.
No, Vin. I snapped with a capital S. You didn't hear it. I capitalized the S when I said it.
Yep. The philosophers say that a man can't command the metals until he has seen death and rejected it.
The philosophers.
Yeah.
The Terrace philosophers, I imagine.
Yeah.
Of the same nature that the Lord Ruler talks about. Which would imply that the Terrace philosophers knew about allomancy beforehand, even though the Lord Ruler is supposedly the one who gave allomancy to the people.
Yeah.
But he gave it to, like, the nobles and stuff. But the Terracemen maybe just already knew how to do it. But they also knew how to do metal mind stuff. So it's like, fucks up with that? Is he just like, here's the sliver of allomancy that I allow you to know?
Yeah. I love it. Don't die.
I tried to choke myself on my own spit doing that. It wasn't too bad, but yeah, it's just like, what the hell's going on?
Yep. Yeah, and then Vin asked, so when did it happen to me?
It's like, oh, I don't know, Vin. Just list all of your traumatic experiences for me as one of them.
Yeah. He said, it's hard to tell. Growing up as you did, there were probably ample opportunities for you to snap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, hey, remember your whole life? Yeah, that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I don't trust the Lord Ruler.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, he seemed so honest.
Yeah.
And maybe he was. But maybe he was honest in his way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like from his perspective, he's like, you know, it's like maybe she just fucked up in some way.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like, you betrayed him by fucking up. Or, you know, like there's some sort of like way in which it's like him just sort of like twisting things.
Yeah.
Just, or like like I don't know. Like some way in which she didn't mean to do it, or she was like forced to or coerced to, or like I don't know.
Yeah.
Because she ends up going as well.
Yep.
But like to me, that doesn't prove that it's like, oh, why would she get sent there if she? It's like, what do you mean? Why would she get sent there even if she like sided with him? Why the fuck would he? She's just a ska.
Right.
Why would he care?
Who would care?
Yeah, it's like, oh,
is anyone gonna say like?
It's like, yes, thank you for betraying the rest of your team. Cuts you down with the rest of them. Like, it's like, yeah. To me, it's like she absolutely could have, and still just been sent there. But then it would just like make her being like, oh no, I didn't do it. That's like, but then why would she say that? And it's like, is it just because she's trying to whatever with Kelsey, or just trying to like? But it's like, I don't know. I feel like if she did it actually, and then went there. I mean, I don't know her. I don't know her character at all. But it's like, why not just be like, yeah, I did, or just avoid him altogether, or just like, I don't know. I don't know. It's all. You know, it adds depth. It certainly adds depth that he's like, I'm doing all this for Mare, but also Mare maybe is the one who betrayed me. Yeah. But I'm holding on hope.
Yeah, and he even basically he's like, either way, I still love her and wouldn't do anything, like wouldn't change anything.
Right.
Like whether like she did betray me or didn't, like it's still, you know.
Right. Yeah. It's like if she betrayed me, then whatever, I still loved her. It's like I'd rather have met her and loved her and her betray me than have it never have happened and thus her not betray me. which is, the romantic thing.
Yeah.
But also, she's like, yeah, Kelsier is a lady now. Kelsier's like, well, she wanted the world to be better, and I'm sort of like working towards that.
Towards her vision.
Towards her vision, even if, it, even if she betrayed me.
Yeah.
I still think that her vision of a different world, a beautiful world from before the Ascension, is worth pursuing. And also the whole bit about, it's like, no, it's wrong, and, like, you can't even recognize that it's wrong because you've been a part of it for so long.
Yeah.
That also gives me capitalism vibes. The old line, it's easier to imagine an end to the world than an end to capitalism. Right. It's easier to imagine, or it's like you can't even imagine what the world was like. It's like, this is just normal.
Yep.
The world's just like this. What do you mean change the system? Or it's like, you can change the system, but, like, all the things, like, there's so much that ripples out from that it's like, no. Like, there's so much that we consider normal about how we do things today that is not normal.
Yeah.
Or at least not in comparison to how things used to be. And so it's just like our definition of normal.
Normal changes with,
Yeah, changes and shifts depending on, like, just whatever is surrounding us. And he's like, things could be better.
Yeah.
You were looking for something?
I was looking for my phone, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and so that's chapter 17, I think.
And there is a little moment of him kind of thinking of Vin, like, as his kids.
Right.
Because he's like, him and Mare, or, like, well, Mare wanted kids, but he didn't. And,
yes, it was like, I was trying to be the greatest, ska thief ever, or whatever. I didn't have time for that. And it's like, and when I think about it, it's probably best that we didn't have kids, given how things turned out. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you're right. And it's like, but, sometimes I think about what it would be like, dark hair like she had and stubborn like she was. Looks at Vin and it's just like, It was very...
I have adopted a child.
Yes, it was very on the nose for me. Like, that's part of what I was talking about. Like, sometimes you have a bit where it's just, like, made very clear. It's sort of by the numbers almost. Because we also, I feel like we get that at the end of the next chapter with what happens there. With the ska and whatnot.
Yes, yeah.
It feels very sort of like, she's literally like, the duality.
Yeah,
and I'm like, yes, Sanderson, I see the duality, I'm aware. But, it's like, most of the time it's not like that, and even when it is like that, it's not too bad or anything. It's just sometimes I'm like, yes, no, I picked up on that.
Yeah.
I was picking up on their parent-daughter-ness.
Yeah.
Which is... That's being a little rude. It's like, whenever we started going into it, just the fact that he was so, like, dark hair, stubborn, it's just like, she's right there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just imagine Vince sitting there being like, fidgeting, like,
wait.
It's like, but I don't know. It's like, does Vin even pick up on it? I don't know. And Vin's just like, you're not my dad. Because she's like, I can't trust anyone. It's like, what? I don't think of Kelsier like it. Runs away.
Yeah.
Kelsier's not my adoptive dad. Runs away. Is Kelsier a good man? Runs away. Yeah. I don't trust him like these people. Baka. Although she's really not like that.
Yeah.
She's pretty, like...
It's mainly in her head. Like,
yes.
Outwardly, she's pretty, like,
Mm-hmm. She's like a weird... She's almost like a reverse Min in that way. Because Min, in her head, is like... Keep it cool.
Yeah.
I got it all together. Don't show anything. But her face, she's just scowling all the time.
Yeah.
And people are like, Jesus. Like, I can tell that you're upset. While with Vin, it's like... I'm not... But then it's just like cool on the outside. Well, more just like traumatic child on the outside. Yeah. Because Kelsier's always just like, Jesus, Vin.
Yeah.
You're so sad. All the time. Man.
It's very Evan Kelp.
Yes, I was thinking about Evan Kelp. I was also thinking about Fig with describing her as being like running away.
Yeah.
Because Fig would be like, hey, I know that I don't really like open up to you guys. Like, you open up all the time. Just runs away. But anyway, That was chapter
Yes.
17.
Yes, that was chapter 17. We've gone on a lot of tangents in this one.
We have, but we're on chapter 18. And I don't have as many notes. It's a longer chapter than 16 was, but I don't have as many notes as I did. I think this one was like a longer one.
Yeah, it is. This one was an hour chapter.
Yeah, it was like 50 minutes or whatever. Yep. Nobles forced into trauma to test for Mistborn was something that I wrote down as like...
just talking about snapping.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, that's why I thought it was maybe in this next one. Because
yeah.
Because I just wrote that down before any of the shit even really started.
Yeah.
Because I was still just thinking about
the last chapter, yeah.
The last chapter, and so I was like waiting for... Because I'm like, so do all the nobles just have to go through traumatic experiences just in case they might be a Mistborn, you know? But also it's like maybe, well, I mean, we know that you don't have to be a misting in order for it to be. Maybe they only test mistings? Who knows? But it's like, how do they go about finding these Mistborn? Because they certainly want them in the nobility. Yeah. They're like a big asset to them. So it's like, how do they go about finding them? It's like, well, we have to traumatize all of our children until one of them... in the hopes that one of them Mistborns about it. And so, like, I'm just waiting for someone to talk to, like, Vin about that at a party. Or, I mean, they probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't just talk about that sort of thing if that was something that they were actually going through. But it's still just fun to imagine someone being like, so, how did it go for you when they tried to traumatize you into being a Mistborn? Maybe Elend would talk about something like that. Not anyone else, but Elend is like
the closest in that.
In sort of that direction, as we find out more so in this chapter, because
we get to see some of his books.
We get to see some of his books and hear some of his thoughts about things. But before that, I have some other things written down, which are a bit more sort of predictory, a bit more thinking towards the future of Vin could be found out as a Mistborn and it would still work, right? So if it starts getting around, because it's like she had her moment where she was like on like the wall and like some guards saw her in like the mist cloak, and it's like I doubt that that's anything actually, but it's like if someone's like starts to put together that maybe she's a Mistborn, it's like she's pretending to be a noble. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, you know, that's why I was sent to court and stuff, you know, even though I'm just some fucking nobody, it's like I was a Mistborn. Yeah. And so that's why I was sent to court, and that's why, you know, I'm like a little bit more important than I would seem initially. It's because, you know, it's like, oh, you have some sort of secret. It's that I'm a Mistborn. But I also have Vin might get too used to nobility, especially if Mistborn stuff. So it's like, if she starts getting some sort of like, you know, recognition. Yeah. People whisper that she's like a Mistborn or whatever. And like, she's already feeling pretty hot about being a Mistborn, you know? She's like, oh yes, it's great. I get to be a Mistborn, and that's so cool. And if other people are like, yes, it is, and also fancy parties, and also all this stuff, then like I was like, oh, maybe she'll get like tempted into it. But then the chapter ended in a way that would really put her off from it. So it's like, nah, maybe that's not where things are gonna go. And I have Vin's got her little crush on Alan Venture. Yep. She keeps thinking about him. Yep. And see, here's the thing. Now I know that he's 21. Yeah. And I'm like, I feel less good about Vin and Elend, given that Vin's like 16. Did we confirm
I think like about like 16, 17.
Yeah, and so for her to be that age and him to be 21 is a little. And I mean, you know, she's of age in England. Yeah. But yeah, it's a little weird from our vantage point, because it's like a 5-year gap. Yeah. Which, you know, isn't a big gap in depending, but it's like at that age it's a bit bigger of a gap, especially given our connotations of like the world that we live in, where it's like Yes, someone who's just old enough to drive a car versus someone who's just old enough to be able to drink.
Yeah.
And one's not a legal adult, one is,
Yeah.
and it's a whole thing.
And they seem to be more similar as like stations in.
Yeah.
Well, she's kind of playing a different station, but
Right. Yeah, it's like they're supposed to be running in like the same circle based on
Yeah.
her like ruse and stuff, and like I don't know. It's a whole thing, but it does make me. I was hoping that he was more just like 17 or 18,
Yeah,
and to hear that he's like 21, I'm like, ooh, okay, we'll see how this goes. I'm just like, that's been the one thing that's made me a little weird, but I'm like, we'll see how it goes, cause like, I had maybe seen like an article recommended to me about like. I don't remember if it mentioned Elland or not. It had said some name that I hadn't come across in regards to Mistborn, and like Vin having a relationship with someone and like fixing a thing about a relationship. And I'm like,
I want to see that article.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Elland or not because I don't remember. I don't remember if that was the name or if they were talking about someone else who shows up later and she doesn't even have a relationship with Elland. But like so far, they're very much like, put in that perspective where it's like, fucking what's his name? God damn it! Sazed's like, I hate to break it to you, he's not interested in you romantically. He's interested in you to piss his family off.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be true. Because it's like, there's this whole thing where it's like, oh, he's just trying to avoid talking with the women that he's, quote, supposed to, and so he's talking with you instead. And you're so like inexperienced, so you won't realize that he's being whatever about it. And it's like, well, I mean, from his perspective, you just showed up in his spot, and then he was like, I'm just gonna like hang out here and read, and then y'all talked, and then you showed up at another part, and he was like, oh, I recognize her. I'm gonna hang out again. It's like it's like very normal and casual. Yeah. Or at least that's the most, it's like looking at it with the most benefit of the doubt versus without. And so it's like, I think that Elland is probably cool.
Yeah.
Especially considering he's reading like anti-Lord Ruler literature. We find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he also has these crazy ideas.
He asks if Vin thinks that they're intelligent.
If the Ska are intelligent.
Yes.
And like, has she talked with the Ska, and what do they sound like? And it's like, they just talk like regular people, and it's like, yeah, what else would they talk like?
Yeah.
It's like, but are they like intelligent? And it's like it's like, yeah, some of them. It's like, but not intelligent like us, right? And it's like, no, of course not. And he looks like disappointed. And it's like,
and then he like kind of gives her the cold shoulder for like a while.
Yes.
And just starts reading.
Ellen has this crazy idea that maybe Ska are full humans.
Yeah.
That's what I have in my notes.
Yeah. But when he first comes to sit down, he just comes and plops all of his books down and sits and starts reading.
Yes. And doesn't speak to her until she speaks to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Vin slips out about Ska because she says something about the Ska.
So first she's like, she sticks up for Sazed.
Yes.
Sazed is hardly insufferable. He's a good friend and probably a better man than you will ever be, Lord Venture.
Yes, this whole conversation was very funny.
And then Ellen finally looked up. I'm sorry, he said in a frank voice. I apologize.
Right, because it's like, no one's going to be talking about a terraceman that way.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to be talking about a terraceman steward that way to be like, a good friend and a better man than you, because they're hardly people to them, I'm sure. And so it's like, and so I'm sure that for...
I mean, they're literally, like, put through, like, breeding programs, and you don't do that without...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not seeing them as people.
Like, yes. And so it's like, he's very taken aback by this.
Yeah.
Which is also probably why he's like...
Yeah.
talking about the ska thing.
Yep.
Because it's like, well, if you feel this way about this Terraceman steward, then like, how do you feel about the ska, maybe? And it's like, oh, you're still weird about the ska. But but I do have Vin's too woke for this shit.
Yeah.
Written in here. But I don't remember what that was about specifically. Because I don't think that was about the Sazed thing, but maybe it was.
What was?
The Vin's too woke for this shit. Yeah, was that about like the Sazed stuff, or was that about something else?
I'm not certain, like what specifically.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's like 2 different conversations.
Right.
Because there's like the talking about Sazed.
That's a stunning dress. It's almost as beautiful as you are. Vin froze, jaw hanging open slightly. Ellen smiled mischievously, then turned back to his book, eyes sparkling, as if to indicate that he'd made the comment simply because he knew the reaction he'd get. Yeah, he's a little shit in like a really fun sort of a way.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with what I was looking for, but I just saw it and enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, he has someone he was supposed to be accompanying someone to this ball, and he didn't. He's sitting with Vin instead.
Yes. And we go and see her. Yes.
No, it's actually someone else.
It's someone else from the woman that he's supposed to be engaged to.
No, so there's the woman he's supposed to be engaged to, which is Shanna Lariel.
Yeah.
But no, this is just some other noble girl that he is supposed to be accompanying. Because Because what he says with Shan is that, like, he's
betrothed to her, but they haven't talked about it in a while, so it's probably fine.
So it's probably not happening.
Yeah.
And, like, Shan seems to not be, like...
Yes, like, that was, like, a year ago, it's probably nothing.
Yeah. Because they haven't been to...
we haven't actually been married, so, like, it's probably just, like, nothing, I guess. But then she does call Vin over and, like, it's like, hey, so, like, the fuck?
Yep.
Kind of.
Well, she's like, please tell me your conversations with Ellen. You're gonna be, like, my
little puppet minion.
Yeah, now.
Yeah. And so it's like, they still have some thing, because she still sees, like, oh, well, if you're fucking hanging around with him, then you're fucking hanging around with me, because it doesn't say because we're betrothed, but that stuck out to me. It's like...
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like... She still seems to have some inclination that her and him are connected in some way.
Yeah.
Or at least is interested in him in some way, that she wants to, like, hear about his conversations from her. Yeah. So it's like, Ellen's like, yeah, it's probably nothing. And I think she's a little bit like...
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I wonder if my Vin's too woke for this shit was just about, like, some of her internal thoughts regarding the, like, ska stuff.
Yeah.
And being like, it might have been honestly about the whole, like, how else would they talk?
Yeah.
It's just like, she's not fucking, like, having this shit. She's like, she's too woke for this shit, and that, like, she's like, what do you mean? How else would they talk? That might have been. Oh yeah,
it's okay. So you didn't interact with them much. Vin shrugged. Why does it matter? They're just ska. See, now that's what we always say. But I don't know. Maybe I'm too curious. But they interest me. Did you ever hear them talk to one another? Did they sound like ordinary people? What? Vin asked. Of course they did. What else would they sound like?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you know what the ministry teaches. She didn't.
I know what it says. I can read. I can't read. That's a 50% off joke from Octopimp. Right? It might have been was it Sparky the Android was the other guy who was writing on 50% off.
Okay.
The free abridged series.
Got you.
Yeah. The anime free, and the abridged one, so it was 50% off, and
got you.
It became this joke that Haru couldn't read. I know what it says. I can read. I can't read. And that's been my favorite joke from that series ever since. I think about it all the time.
I love it.
Just anytime someone's like, yeah, I can do blank, I can't do blank. But yeah, it's like, you know what the ministry teaches. It's like, yeah, totally. It's like, just doesn't know what the ministry teaches. And then she's like, oh, I never take the ministry too seriously anyway. I try not to believe everything they say.
Yeah.
It's just like, Vin. Vin, my God.
Yeah, it's, well, you know, She didn't, but if it was regarding the Scot, it probably wasn't very flattering. I make it a rule to never completely believe anything the Ministry says.
Yeah.
You're not what I expected, Lady Villette.
She's too woke for this shit.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, so I think it was about one of those two
Got
things.
you.
But yeah.
Yeah, so then she ends up dancing with some, like, people for a while, and she's like, oh, like, they're nervous about dancing, like, maybe more than I am. And actually, I'm pretty good at this.
Yep, because she has high dexterity. Mm-hmm. She also has pretty good charisma. So this is like a performance check. It'd still also be good. But yeah, and then I have talking about the dude you were just with your new dude. Because she immediately starts talking about Lord Elland with the dude that she started dancing with. She leaves.
But she fixes it by the end.
She does, but it's just like at first it's very like awkward and it's just like it's just like, hey, do you know anything about Lord Elland? It's like, you mean the guy that you were just sitting and talking with? It's like, you know more than I would, and it's just like, oh well, you know, he's just like supposed to be like. He's a family friend. He's supposed to be showing me off to court, and he's not doing it. And he doesn't talk about himself, so I want to like know more about him. He's like an older brother.
She really pulls it back.
Oh yeah, she really like turns it around, and it's like, oh, he's like an older brother, and then she goes back and tells him that he said he was like an older brother, and he gets all offended by it.
Yeah, older brother.
It's like,
oh yeah, that's when we find out he's 21. Because she's like, you're more than like you're twice my age, or something like that.
It's like, no, I'm not. I'm 21, and so that was when I was like, oh.
Yes, much older. I mean, you've got to be at least twice my age. Twice your Villette. I'm 21. Unless you're a very mature 10-year-old, I'm nowhere near twice your age.
Yeah. It's like, nope, just 16, 17, something like that. Yeah. But and I have Ferrochemist's Metal Mines written as a note.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, somewhere in there, something mentioned ferrochemists and their metal mines. It might have been in one of the books or something that she was reading. Yeah. The ferrochemists and their metal mines, weather patterns of the northern dominance. So it might have been in that, or it might have been before that or something. Because like there's a whole bit that I didn't really write notes about, the like section where she's talking with Shan. But yeah, no, somewhere in there was ferrochemists and metal mines, because I wrote it down. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
So where is it that it gets mentioned?
It gets mentioned in the fake weather patterns of the northern dominance.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because it's like...
Right, because it's like, yeah, there's the Lord Ruler's blunders.
Yes,
and it's like they're not often remembered except by...
Yeah. Most of these have been... for a nation ruled by a self-proclaimed divinity, the Empire has experienced a frightening number of colossal leadership errors. Most of these have been successfully covered up and can only be found in the metal mines of ferrochemists or on the pages of banned texts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm like, ferrochemists, huh? Ferro as in like iron. And yeah.
So you just said ferrochemist, and I'm like,
you're just like, what?
like,
yeah.
Where was that mentioned?
Yep. So yeah. And I'm just like, I want to know more. Ferrochemists and the metal mines of ferrochemists or whatever, which are the keepers. Keepers do the metal mine thing, so it's like, but also that book's maybe old, who knows, or maybe it's just that people have more knowledge in the nobility. But yeah, I like that it's weather patterns of the northern dominance. It's just the most boring thing you could come up with.
Yeah, and then he's got it hidden in there.
Yep, in like the middle of the stack, but it's like...
And Sean has her terraceman steward like looking through his books.
Yes, and then she's like, oh, goodness me, I have to be off. My terraceman steward will be expecting me at my table.
Yeah. We've been like ping-ponging all over this chapter.
Oh yeah, a little bit. But I mean, yeah, I just didn't have notes for the Shan part or for like the dancing as much.
Yeah. Because then she's called up by Shan. Let me see if there's anything that. She always has to turn on the copper first, and then the other metal.
Oh yeah,
to be hidden.
And she tries to soothe her.
Yes, Shan Ilariel tries to sue her.
Yes, Shan.
Sue?
Yeah, she tries to sue her. Yeah. in court. She's like, she shows up, and then Vin gets the subtle impression that she's trying to sue her.
Trying to sue her. God, I cannot speak today at all. It's a bad one.
Yeah, not a good speaking day, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, fucking tries to soothe her, and
Yes. Yeah.
she's like,
Mistress Lady Shan Alariel requires your presence at her table.
Requires, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so then she's just annoying and such in that conversation.
Oh yeah.
And then for now, tell me of your conversation with him this evening. Vin opened her mouth to respond, but something felt wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She only caught the barest flicker of it, and she wouldn't have noticed that much without Breeze's training. A soother? Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Shan was trying to make Vin complacent so that she... Okay, I cannot speak today. It's not working.
Do you want to take a moment to, like, pre-read?
Shan was trying to make Vin complacent so that she would talk, perhaps.
Do you want me to try and read?
It doesn't really matter. It's just this little bit of her trying to...
This highlighted bit here, Vin saw Shan's... Because you're not pointing at anything.
Yeah, it was just this...
This bit?
Yeah.
Shan was trying to make Vin complacent. So that she would talk, perhaps? Vin began to relate her conversation with Ellen, staying away from anything interesting. However, something still felt odd to her. Something about the way that Shan was playing with her emotions. From the corner of her eye, Vin saw Shan's terraceman return from the kitchens. However, he didn't walk back toward Shan's table. He headed in the other direction, towards Vin's table.
Yeah. And then she excuses herself real quick to go
interrupt him and keep him from looking through the books, which is good because Elland had fucking
he has
the Anarchist Cookbook in his stack.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you go.
Yep.
And
some rebellion, a little bit of blasphemy.
Yep, just and
some heresy.
In House Venture, one of the biggest noble house. And
it's basically kind of just talking about
how the Lord Ruler sucks.
Yeah, it's like for a nation ruled by self-proclaimed divinity, the Emperor. It's it's not.
And you also already read that part.
I did.
Yeah. So it's okay. But yeah.
The Lord Ruler does not age that much. At least it's undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, at a certain point, the nobility is going to be like, I think we could just run this better than the Lord Ruler can. Yeah. Like, I know that he, like, did all this shit for us, but, like, what if not democracy, but, oligarchy, instead of, like, straight dictatorship,
Yeah.
Which is how you can maybe get some fucking nobles on your side for this whole rebellion thing. It's like, but after that it gets tricky.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how it goes, because, Ellen's like, yeah, I'm cool, but, like, how cool are you, Ellen?
Yeah.
Like, when push comes to shove, how cool are you gonna be?
Right. Like, he's reading some stuff, but,
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then they're just kind of talking and flirting a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Ellen leaves the party with two other young men.
Mm-hmm.
And Vin asks Sazed, who are those men with Lord Venture? Why, one of them is Lord Gestes Lakehow.
Mm-hmm.
The other is a Hasting, though I don't know his given name. You sound surprised. Houses Lakehow and Hasting are both political rivals of House Venture.
Yeah, I guess we really do need to to wind down this chapter.
I think so. I think we might need to. There's only a little bit left.
Oh yeah.
Apparently my mouth is not having it today.
No, but yeah, he leaves with them, and Saz is like, yeah,
That's weird, because, like, they're rivals.
They're rivals. It's like you go to, like, after parties sometimes and do political stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, what's up with that?
And he's like, I'll tell Kelsier about it, because he'll want to know.
Yep, and then they go outside.
And Vin witnesses a murder.
Vin witnesses a murder, except, I mean, it's not a murder, because murder would imply that some sort of legal something.
Yep,
No,
yep.
this is just,
just a knifing in the mist.
Yep, just killing a ska because they were inconvenient.
Basically, yep.
Because like, all the ska did was, like, he was, like, begging?
He begged from one of the carriages from the nobles outside the party.
Yeah, and so a guard, like, carries him off and then just, like, slits his throat.
Yeah. Yep.
And then just keeps carrying him off.
Yep. And no one notices anything. In fact, they get a little bit more chatty because they no longer hear this kid's, like, crying and screaming.
Yep. And everyone's just like, whatever. And Sanderson's like, the duality. And I'm like, yes, Sanderson, the duality. I'm aware. I'm seeing the duality. Vin's seeing we're all seeing the duality.
Don't forget the ash, because you see a little silk.
Yes. Yeah, and that really made me go, like, okay, so maybe Vin's not going to be seduced by the aristocracy that much.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, don't forget.
It's kind of like what this chapter was, a bit of her, kind of seeing the glamour, and, like, her being away from it for a bit and not being able to do anything, and and then going in and being like, oh, like, these are people. I can talk to these people, but if they knew she was Scott, they wouldn't see her as people.
Yep. And she'd be fucking dead just like that kid.
Yep.
As soon as they find her out, she's fucking dead just like that kid. Yep. It's fucked up. It's all fucked up.
Wow. So yeah, we've now finished through the end of chapter 18.
Yep.
About halfway through the book, it looks like.
Well, yeah, about halfway through the book, and there's like 5 parts total, right? So yeah, being partway through chapter 3, not chapter 3, part 3, makes sense that we'd be about halfway through.
Yeah.
And we actually planned out.
Yes.
What our next chapters are going to be, right?
Pretty much. 19. So it's deciding between through either 22 or 23.
Okay. Either 22 or 23?
Yeah.
Well, if we look at that,
because then the next section would be through 25.
Okay. Yeah, so if we're on... So 19 is about 40 minutes, and so is 20. And then 21 is 51 minutes. 22 is 33 minutes. And you're saying 20... Maybe go to what chapter?
22, I think.
22?
Yep. And then what's 23 through 25?
23 through 25 is 44 minutes, 33 minutes, and then 34 minutes. And I accidentally just clicked on chapter 24. That's okay.
Yeah, that'll actually be perfect.
Yeah. So it'll be 19
through 22 for this section.
Cool. Alrighty.
And then the next section will get us to the end of part 3.
Right. And it'll be 23, 24, 25?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And that'll get us through, and we'll be chugging along.
Yeah.
Chugging along. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So, I guess this has been Let's Talk About Book. And now you can go forth and think about book on your own time. We have been Smeevca and
Straub.
And
have a lovely day or night.
Yes, have a lovely whatever time it is, wherever you are. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Bye.